The overlords of the stars. The Zeldar Dominion had ruled the stars for millennia. Their empire spanned hundreds of conquered worlds, each species forced into submission beneath their war machines. To them, war was not a challenge but a routine. No civilization had ever resisted them for long. When their scouting fleets discovered a small blue planet in the Sol system, it barely warranted attention. Earth, a species of bipeds, dominated the world, wielding primitive nuclear weapons but lacking interstellar travel. Their cultures were divided, their wars petty. Supreme Warlord Veilrax scoffed at the thought of resistance. Another primitive species to be crushed, he declared. The invasion fleet set course for Earth, expecting an easy conquest. The attack began at dawn. Zeldar warships descended through the clouds, blotting out the sun as energy cannons reduced cities to rubble. Their ground troops, towering warriors clad in living armor, marched across battlefields, meeting feeble resistance from Earth's militaries. Tanks, jets, and missiles did little against the Zeldar's advanced shielding and bioweapons. The war was over before it had begun, or so the invaders believed. Yet something was different about this world. The humans did not surrender. In every other invasion, fear had been the great equalizer. Once a civilization saw the might of the Zeldar, they submitted. But humanity fought as if their very existence depended on it, because it did. Cities burned, yet resistance flared up in the ruins. Soldiers adapted quickly, using guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and deception to strike at the enemy's weak points. Where direct confrontation failed, sabotage and subterfuge took their place. Even civilians refused to submit. An old farmer, armed with nothing but a hunting rifle, took down an elite Zeldar warrior. A wounded pilot, dragging himself from the wreckage of his jet, detonated explosives to destroy an alien walker. Casualties among the Zeldar began to rise, more than in any previous war. Supreme Warlord Veilrax watched in growing frustration as reports poured in. The human resistance was unlike anything recorded. It wasn't their technology. It wasn't their weapons. It was something else. Why did they not break? Veilrax demanded, his clawed fist slamming into the armrest of his command throne. His second-in-command, Commander Zevtor, hesitated before responding. They do not fight for survival alone. They fight for something greater. Veilrax sneered, a foolish species clinging to hope. But deep within, a seed of doubt took root. For the first time, the Zeldar faced something they did not understand. They had known power that had broken 100 worlds. Yet before them stood humanity, bloodied but unyielding. And for the first time in their empire's history, the Zeldar realized they might not be the most powerful force in the galaxy. The defiant spirit. The invasion should have been over by now. Every other species the Zeldar had conquered had broken within days, their leaders surrendering in the face of overwhelming firepower. But Earth refused to fall. Supreme Warlord Veilrax paced inside his flagship, eyes burning with frustration as battlefield reports flooded in. His forces had reduced entire cities to rubble. Their war machines crushed human militaries with ease. And yet, the fighting never stopped. Every street, every ruined building, every shadow concealed an enemy waiting to strike. Humanity fought in ways the Zeldar had never encountered. Their armies no longer relied on open battle. They became ghosts in the ruins, striking and vanishing before the Zeldar could react. Guerrilla warfare, asymmetric combat, psychological attacks. It began with small disruptions, supply lines sabotaged, patrols disappearing without a trace. Then it escalated. Entire platoons were ambushed in the night, their towering war machines brought down by improvised explosives and stolen alien weapons. Resistance fighters hacked into the Dominion's communication networks, intercepting orders and turning the Zeldar's own technology against them. For the first time in recorded history, a Dominion invasion force was losing ground. Commander Zevtor, overseeing ground operations, grew increasingly uneasy. He had studied countless war records, yet none prepared him for this. He had seen human civilians take up arms, refusing to bow even when their homes lay in ruins. During a patrol in the ruins of what was once New York City, Zevtor's forces captured a human resistance fighter, an older woman, bloodied but defiant. She had been found sabotaging an alien fuel depot. Zevtor studied her, puzzled. Your cities are lost. Your armies are shattered. Why do you continue to fight? The woman met his gaze, eyes unwavering. Because we still breathe. Zevtor felt something he had never known before. Doubt. More reports arrived. Dominion forces were struggling even in areas they had already conquered. Factories once thought destroyed were back in operation, turning out makeshift weapons. Farmers poisoned alien food supplies. Engineers built EMP bombs from scrap metal, disabling entire Zeldar strongholds. The humans would not stop, not until the last one of them was dead. Veilrax refused to accept it. They are nothing before us. We have the numbers. We have the firepower. We will break them. Zevtor hesitated before speaking. Supreme Warlord, breaking them may not be possible. Veilrax's expression darkened. His empire had conquered worlds without resistance. And yet here on a backwater planet, his forces were bleeding. Still, he would not retreat. He would not accept failure. Then we shall crush them completely. The Zeldar prepared their ultimate weapon, an unthinkable show of force. But even as their warships positioned themselves in orbit, the humans were already moving. They were not just fighting to survive. They were fighting to win. The breaking point. Supreme Warlord Veilrax had seen enough. Humanity's refusal to surrender was more than an annoyance. It was an insult. The Dominion had never suffered such resistance, never struggled against a primitive species. If overwhelming firepower had failed, then he would unleash something no civilization had ever withstood. The World Breaker orbital cannons were the Dominion's ultimate weapon, designed to end wars in a single strike. Each cannon could reduce continents to molten wastelands, leaving nothing but ash. The humans would finally understand their place in the universe. A broadcast was sent across Earth. Veilrax himself delivered the message, his towering figure appearing in the skies through Dominion holograms. Your defiance has amused us long enough. Surrender now, or we will burn your world to the ground. The response came within minutes. A transmission intercepted by Dominion forces, originating from a hidden human resistance bunker. The voice was calm, unwavering. Fire your weapons. But understand this, we have nothing left to lose. But you do. And then, humanity struck. Operation Ragnarok. The Zeldar expected fear. Instead, they faced total war. Before the orbital cannons could fire, human hackers launched an unprecedented cyber attack. Dominion targeting systems went dark. Automated defenses shut down. Communication between Zeldar command units collapsed in chaos. Then came the skies. Human spacecraft, old, repurposed shuttles, and experimental fighter craft launched suicide attacks against the Dominion fleet. The Zeldar had laughed at humanity's lack of space travel, until now. Ships once meant for peaceful exploration rammed into Dominion cruisers, detonating with devastating force. On the ground, resistance fighters stormed key alien strongholds, using captured Zeldar weapons against them. EMP bombs, built from salvage parts, fried Dominion war machines. In a last, desperate assault, elite human strike teams infiltrated the Zeldar command vessel itself. Their mission: kill Veilrax and cut the head off the snake. The fall of a warlord. Inside the Zeldar flagship, alarms blared as the humans fought their way to the command throne. Veilrax stood, gripping his war staff, watching as his once invincible army crumbled before mere primitives. His warships were burning in the sky. His soldiers were dying on the ground. This was impossible. The doors to his throne room burst open. A squad of human soldiers stepped inside, weapons raised. At the front was Captain Daniel Graves, leader of Earth's resistance. Veilrax bared his fangs. You dare? Graves didn't hesitate. A single shot rang out. The Supreme Warlord staggered back, falling to his knees. He looked up at the human before him, disbelief in his eyes. This is not possible, he gasped. Graves stepped closer, his expression cold. And yet, here we stand. As Rax collapsed, the Dominion fleet, leaderless, broken, began its retreat. Humanity had done the impossible. They had won. We thought we knew power. The great Zeldar Dominion, an empire that had conquered 100 worlds, was retreating. Across the burning skies of Earth, their warships turned away, abandoning battlefields littered with the wreckage of their once invincible war machines. For the first time in their history, they had been defeated. In the shattered remains of the Supreme Warlord's command vessel, Captain Daniel Graves and his strike team stood over Rax's lifeless body. The Warlord, once a figure of absolute terror, was nothing more than a crumpled corpse. The mighty ruler who had deemed humanity unworthy had fallen to those he thought weak. Graves lowered his weapon. His comm unit crackled to life. "Captain, they're pulling back." "We did it." A long silence followed. Then, in a voice filled with exhaustion and triumph, Graves spoke. "Tell everyone, Earth is ours again. The cost of victory. The battle was won, but Earth lay in ruins. Cities had been reduced to rubble. Millions were dead. Yet, as humans stepped out from bunkers, from ruined buildings, from the ashes of their once thriving world, they did not weep. They rebuilt. Engineers salvaged alien technology, repurposing it to restore power grids. Scientists pored over captured Dominion data, unlocking advancements in medicine, energy, and spaceflight. Soldiers, once rebels in their own land, now prepared for something greater. The war had changed them. They were no longer just defenders of Earth. They had faced the greatest empire in the galaxy and emerged victorious. Now, they would not wait for another invasion. A new dawn. In the wreckage of a Zeldar cruiser, a transmission played on loop, intercepted from deep space. The Dominion was in turmoil. With Rax dead and their forces humiliated, alien warlords fought for control. For the first time, the Empire was weak. Humanity had been seen as prey. Now they were something else, a threat. At a hidden military base, leaders of the Resistance gathered around a hollow table displaying a star map. The Dominion had fallen back to their closest strongholds, but they were vulnerable. A general turned to Captain Graves. "We have the technology now. We have the knowledge. We know where they are." Graves nodded, staring at the stars. "They came to our home, thinking us weak, thinking us lesser. Let's show them what humanity really is. No longer bound to Earth, humanity prepared for a new mission. Not just to defend, not just to survive, but to rise." The Zeldar had believed they knew power. They had no idea what true power looked like until they witnessed humanity. The end or the beginning.